Welcome back, All I Ever Wanted podcast. You know, this is going to be one of the fun interviews because this is an area that I am very passionate about as far as what it takes to be a one percenter. People think it's just about your income, it's about your wealth, it's about how much you generate, but guess what? There's no point retiring early if your health is shit. How many times have we said this? If you want to live and enjoy your successes that you've earned, take care of yourself. I'm not going to do a big intro here. I'm going to kick it right over to my guest today. If you don't know him, you're going to know him pretty quickly and very intimately over this next 30-day challenge that we're running on our Fit Into Lifestyle page. This is Braeden Miller. Hey, brother, thanks for coming.
Thank you, Chris.
Actually, I'm at his place. This is his new facility. We're in his office. We'll take you on a tour after, but this is the Den Fitness. It is. I've been all over the world. I've seen gyms in every corner of the world, and there's more equipment per square foot in this place than I've seen anywhere. All right? So, enough of the words about that kind of stuff. Let's get into some serious discussions. I'm going to let him talk about himself for a couple minutes because he's over a decade younger than me. Identical mindsets. This is how we connected. I want you to hear from his words the shit that he's gone through. If you ever think anything is easy for anyone who's ever succeeded, turn this off right now. We don't need you watching if you think that the 1% life is granted to someone, is handed to someone. It was easy at any point. I'm done talking. Braeden, let's hear about your story, how we got here. Let's go back as early as you want.
Oh yeah, so I started my fitness journey as a young athlete, playing hockey my whole life. I was very fortunate enough my family was able to afford to put me in sports. I know they can be tough for some people, but I basically was never the most skilled kid. I kind of pushed my way through hard work to get to where I did in hockey, and I played AAA through my younger years and whatnot. And when I got to the age of 17, 18 years old, when junior hockey kind of comes around and you have opportunities and scouts and stuff like that, I was scouted and offered to try out for a couple different teams. So I went down to Brooks, Alberta, and previous to that, I had actually hired a personal trainer for myself. I decided I wanted to take it serious. I wanted to really pursue my passion at the time, which was hockey, and I wanted to go all in. So my parents helped me out with that. I got a personal trainer. We focused on nutrition, training, all that kind of stuff. He was actually an Olympic sprinter, so he was somebody who, like I would say, was a one percenter that dedicated his life to something and let that passion spew off into others and help others. So that changed my life in the direction of things for me. I achieved things I didn't really think were possible in terms of the level of fitness that I achieved. I went to training camp as a forward, which I played defense my entire life. And I was kind of a bruiser, third line kind of guy. But like I said, I mean, we go to fitness testing and I destroyed everyone, right? And those are the types of things that a coach and a scout pick up on, because it's like, this guy showed up ready. Yeah. And all I had to do was work my ass off. Like I said, I wasn't the most skilled guy, and I ended up making the team. Played a few years there, and then an injury had kind of taken me away from going back, and I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna skip my last year and I'm gonna go to university. My coach, I had told him that. He believed in me a lot, so he made a couple phone calls, and next thing you know, I got a phone call and I was offered a scholarship to play for McEwen here in the city. So I took that opportunity and played university hockey, and then I know we've briefly spoke about this, but I played 2.5 seasons there, and in my third season I was a captain, one of the captains on the team, and I was kind of out of that party phase of my life. I was more serious about my future and getting myself on track to do something. And it felt like I was just babysitting a lot of my teammates at the time, to be honest with you, and I'd show up to the rink and nobody cared about hockey anymore, which...
I gotta interrupt real quick. Are you seeing how things develop? Everybody wants to, go out and have fun. Sorry, if there's a trophy...
Yeah.
Best.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody
100%.
says. It's okay if you had fun along the way, but if a team's relying on you and you're slacking off, the winners don't like that.
Yeah, well, and I came from a team when I played junior hockey. We won the entire thing. I was on a team of, like I said, I wasn't playing every night. I was a fighter. I was a third, fourth line guy, but I showed up for my team every single time, every single game. So did the rest of my team, and we were like brothers because we showed up to the rink ready to play, and I was playing for that guy and he was playing for me, and we had a purpose.
Yeah.
And that's why we won. We had crazy things happen. After my first season, one of my really close friends died in a car accident leaving our summer camp. that brought our team closer, and it was just like, it was crazy, right? Like our team was just, we were very good. And then I go back to play university and we're losing all the time and nobody cares. And it's like, how do you go from one to the other like this and enjoy it? You know what I mean? So there was a my passion for hockey was starting to take a hit. And I didn't want to become the bitter guy that didn't enjoy hockey, but I was just like, you know what? This isn't fun for me anymore. And the fitness thing had started to take off for me and my passion was growing in that side of things. So I just decided to pursue it. I said, you know what? I'm going to just focus on my school. I'm going to focus on my training and I'm going to hang up the skates. Well, when I did that, you don't realize how much time you actually put in at the rink and training and stuff. So I didn't really know what to do with my time. One of my best friends at the time was training for a competition. He was going to do a men's physique competition. We started training together. We were training partners, and I kind of was with him all the way through his prep. And then I went to his show to support him, and I seen it, and I was like, this is cool. This is what I'm going to do. He did very well. He won his show, and I was like, I'm built for this. I know I can do this. So that's kind of when it started for me. I hired my first bodybuilding coach right after that, and you learn things along the way. I look back at the way that coach did things, and it's very, very different than the way I do things for my athletes now, but it taught me a lot of lessons. Regardless, I've seen some success in it. I know we've talked about that as well. That would have been 2016. I did my first show. I had hired him at the end of 2015. I won my first show in the light heavyweights, went to provincials after that, and I won provincials as a light heavyweight as well. Decided to take the year off because I had a bye to nationals, a lifetime bye to nationals now for winning at the provincial level. Decided to take a year off to grow a little bit and go to nationals. And my goal in 2017 at nationals was just to get top 10. The bodybuilders were incredible. I have a lot of good friends now that competed with me in that class, are now pro bodybuilders and stuff like that. So at the time I looked at it and I was like, you know what, if you can crack top 10 in a lineup like this at your first nationals, you're on track to do something good in this sport. And I thought I'd be okay with that. I thought, like, you know what, top 10, I'll be happy. There's up to 30 guys sometimes in these classes, very competitive classes. So I did the show. I looked great for as good as I could have been at the time, and I ended up getting like 7th place. After the show, I was definitely not okay with
you don't have that top 7 mentality after knowing you. That's not.
I was pretty upset about it actually, and I decided, you know what, like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna throw myself fully into this thing. I know what I have here. I know what I can do, so I'm gonna really push myself. So that following year, I got to the biggest I'd ever been, and I was on pace I was actually going to be competing at the Arnold Classic in Ohio, which is one of the biggest amateur bodybuilding competitions in the world. Unfortunately, this is where my story takes a little bit of a turn. I had some pretty severe health stuff happen. I actually died on the gym floor. I split my aorta when I was back squatting. So I had a genetic predisposition to this. Both my grandfathers had issues with their aorta. One of them had aortic aneurysm and stuff like that. So yeah, for me it was obviously unexpected. I mean, you're a young kid rolling at a good pace, very passionate about this sport, and then the next thing you know, you wake up in a hospital, have been in a coma for 4 days, tubes in your mouth, catheter in, all this crazy shit, and you don't even know what's going on. So I was in the hospital for about 9.5 weeks, just under 10 weeks. I went from 247 pounds in that time frame to 196 pounds. I remember looking at myself in the mirror when I was able to get out of my hospital bed, and I was just like, what happened to me? Which mentally, if anybody's been through anything similar, that takes you for a ride. Because a lot of where I was at that time mentally, whether it's good or bad, what was based on my physique and what I had spent so much time and effort building, and within 2 months' time of me just laying in a hospital bed, it's all gone. Right? Now, I was very grateful to be alive. Not many people get that opportunity. Anybody that knows anything about that, it's called a spontaneous aortic dissection. People don't survive them. Somebody was there for me that day. It wasn't my time, realistically. Like, there was, paramedics showed up. They had to intubate me on the gym floor. They had to hit me with paddles 4 times, which usually they'll go 3 times. And then they'll pronounce somebody dead because they're not trying to mutilate a dead body or whatever they call it. But they decided a 4th time between the 2 of them, and that's what brought me back. So I went to the hospital. They did brain cooling, this whole thing where they basically cooled my entire body, kind of like a cryo chamber where they freeze people to preserve them. Basically, essentially that on a smaller scale. They took my family into a room, told my family there was a 95% chance or 90% chance that I wouldn't come out of my coma, and of that, there was basically a 10% chance that I wouldn't be brain dead or brain damaged. So fast forward, that, like I said, that was 2018. I ended up leaving the hospital just under 10 weeks later, and I was told at that time that I should never really train again. I was told at that time I'll be on the medications that I was on for the next 74 years, which at the time I was 26 years old. And for me, I just felt like a shell of a man. Those medications were horrible. Like I said, I mean, being a 26-year-old man, I don't know how much we want to get into shit here, but when you literally can't get aroused and you walk around and you're literally just like depressed all the time, that's not normal. It wasn't normal for me. And I was like, this can't be good. So,
and this can't be the rest of your life. You
no,
have
it's
nothing
just
but every day to wake up to, and then someone else was telling you, sorry, you have nothing to wake up for every day.
100%. And I mean, I'm not the type of person that really lets people put boundaries to me.
Clearly, yeah.
I've never been that kind of guy. I've always been kind of a very disagreeable person and whatnot. So hearing that, it kind of was just like a fuck you, watch me. And honestly, I kind of had decided to at the time, like, I would honestly rather, it sounds very cold, but like, I would rather die doing what I was passionate about than live the rest of my life the person I was at that time, feeling the way that I did. It was very hard to be happy, and like, I had a lot of reasons to be happy. I was alive. I had an amazing family, my girlfriend at the time, you know what I mean? But there was something that wasn't there. So I changed things for myself. I mean, over time, I got back in the gym 8 weeks later. Was I as big and strong as I was? No, I mean, I had staples in me everywhere from the surgery. I had a defibrillator put in. So I wasn't the same, but I knew that if I kept working at it over time, I could at least get somewhere close. And so I just kind of jumped fully into it and pursued that. Throughout all this time, we kind of skipped a step, but I was coaching bodybuilders. I had made a promise to myself that when I was bodybuilding, I wasn't going to coach bodybuilders. Based on an experience I had early on with one of my coaches when I did nationals, bodybuilding is a very selfish sport. You have to commit fully if you really want to succeed in this sport. You can't be going out for dinners, all that kind of stuff. So it takes a toll on your significant other. It takes a toll on all that kind of stuff. But as a coach, if you're a competitive bodybuilder, it's really tough for me to care about my athlete that's doing the same show as me when my goal is to basically win everything at that show. So it's like, am I trying to win everything and put you in at number 2? Because I'm an all-in type of guy. So that was just a
conflict of interest.
Yeah, so that was just a decision that I made, that my goal was to be a pro bodybuilder, and I wasn't going to coach bodybuilders. So I coached a lot of lifestyle people. I had a lot of transformations, that kind of stuff. And then when my accident had happened, bodybuilding was what I knew. So I said, well, okay, maybe I can't bodybuild and do what it takes to be one of the best bodybuilders in the world anymore, or a pro bodybuilder, but I'm going to help people do that. And the following year, basically right after I made that decision, my first year of coaching bodybuilders, I turned my first athlete pro. And I've said it before, I'm not sure if me turning pro would have ever felt the same way as me turning my first athlete pro. I think I prefer the feeling of somebody else turn pro. I've done it many times now, and it feels the same every single time. Just being a part of that process is really, really cool. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, going back now to where we were talking, I got back in the gym. I stopped taking my medications, which I don't suggest anybody necessarily does that. I'm not going to tell you to do that. But for me, the way I felt, I just said, you know what, I'm not taking these anymore. And I'm I've spent a lot of time understanding and learning things about natural supplementation and health and vitamins and whatnot. So I knew that there was things that I could take naturally to at least help me get back to a good place where I wasn't necessarily at risk anymore. And it was all trial and error, essentially. Like, I didn't know for sure that would happen. I'm not a cardiologist. So I stopped taking my meds and I went for some checkups, and they're like, yep, you're getting better. I'm like, okay, maybe we're onto something here. A month later, I go for another checkup. Yep, you're still improving. Okay, they'd end up bumping my appointments to every 3 months because there's improvements. So then every 3 months I go. And it was just appointment after appointment. They're telling me you're getting better, until I got to a point where it was like, hey, you basically, yeah, you have scarring on your heart, but realistically, it doesn't look too far off from normal heart function. So at that time, I brought a bunch of my natural health supplements into my cardiologist, and I said, just so you know, I haven't taken any of those medications that you guys told me I'd be on for the rest of my life in over 9 months. This is what I've been taking. And they didn't really understand what they were looking at. They knew prescriptions, which, again, that's their job.
Yes.
They're not trained or educated in natural supplementation and so forth. But for me, it showed me that there was a different path. And that's something that I reflect on to my athletes now as a bodybuilder, a bodybuilding coach, is that, okay, we can basically minimize risk and still maximize outcomes just by being smart and thinking outside the box with the way we do things. So yeah, since then I've started, like we talked about, I'm a online coach. I only coach competitors now. I don't coach individual lifestyle people, but I run a team. I have 2 other coaches who are actually my partners in the gym here at the Den Fitness that work with me. They both coach lifestyle and competitors. I've kind of been fortunate enough to mentor them through their journeys a little bit. Ty, one of my coaches here, he basically was a bodybuilder with me, and he was one of my athletes, and just one of those guys who we've talked about these types. He's a hustler. He paid his way through university flipping Jordans, and
business.
He understands things like that, and he knows hard work. And when I seen him just doing everything that I wanted him to do all the time, execution, and progressing at a faster rate than a lot of people on my roster, I was like, this kid's got it. He gets it. And he wanted to be a coach, and he was already coaching a few people, and then we decided to bring him on as a coach, and it was just all uphill from there. Ty's 25 years old now, owns a gym with me, right? So it's like that mindset that he has, it's rare, but when someone has it, they're leaps and bounds ahead of everyone else. So Dill's the same way. He's a very, very hard working dude. A little bit different. He hired me as well, and then within a very short period of time after that, we brought him on as a coach. He was already an established coach, but he wanted a team like ours to be a part of. So we brought him on, and then things just kind of snowballed from there. I ended up opening a supplement store with Dylan, Supplement World here in Edmonton. We own the Terwilliger one, and then we're actually just signed our second location. We're going to open one up in St. Albert.
Nice.
And outside of that, we own the gym here, and I've also taken over the rights for a Canadian company called Flavor Gang Canada, where we manufacture hot rice cereal and low-calorie sauces for people who are trying to bodybuild or just have lower calorie sauces that aren't super high in fat, sugars, carbs, stuff like that. So
if we had anyone with an intro that could talk that much at only 31 years old, like, we love the young entrepreneur life and the fact that this is also in the physical fitness side, but the elite level of the physical fitness side. This is the kind of thing that we really get into. I love this. Like, you guys know that I did my previous 2 series. You know, the first one was introducing people into the lifestyle. If someone walked onto your gym floor, like, don't get me wrong, everybody in there is super nice. They're willing to help. They just look intimidating.
Yeah,
a lot of people,
sure.
if they walked in there as their first gym, I'm not at the right place. I got to go to some frou-frou place and just look pretty in my outfit. So I did the first 2 series on basically get your ass in the gym.
Yeah.
The first step is getting your ass in the gym. Second one was more novice. Like, okay, now we got a point. We know that we know how to work out. We can do it safely. We know how to warm up, all that. Let's take it into building a goal. You can do that at a typical style gym.
Yeah.
Why this one was so important is that I'm starting, this is day 1 of a 30-day, I'm getting back into absolutely serious training. I've fought in the past, I've been in the cage. When I gave that up, I started working out more on the muscular side of things. I'm predisposed, I was never good at cutting, but I can do pretty decent things muscular-wise in short periods of time, naturally. We have two different approaches. Neither's right, neither's wrong. For me, when I was fighting, that wasn't an option to go the other way, because I would just get too big, and that's not what I wanted. You have to stay lean, you have to stay fast, or not lean, but light. And only being 5'9" was very difficult. So this, I am looking really forward to doing this 30 days, because I've never really combined the two of taking myself to what I'm hoping will be an elite level What would you tell people then? Like I said, my journey is a lot longer. I'm really excited to do this. What would you say is the first step if someone thinks they're willing to or they're ready to? Because like you said, even in your mind, you didn't even know until your coaches along the way were like, no, I can pull more out of you than anyone else did. So what would you say to someone who's like, I'm ready for that step. What's next? They think they've taken themselves as far to the top. Mm-hmm. Now what?
Be open-minded. I mean, at the end of the day, if somebody tells you you're training like a pussy and you take that on the chin and you're like, all right, I can find that new gear.
Yeah.
Versus you get upset because it's like, no, I train hard. It's like, well, come to a place like this. We'll show you what training hard looks like. Mm-hmm. And I guarantee you'll walk out of this place.
You hope you walk.
And yeah, but even if you walk out and you just watched us train, you'll probably sitting at home saying, those guys trained harder than me. And at the end of the day, it's not pat myself on the back. Like I said, this is what I do. It's a learned skill. It's an acquired skill. It comes over time. But every single person is capable of it at the end of the day. Again, it just comes down to, are you willing to actually work hard? Or are you convincing yourself that you want to work hard? Because the two are not the same. Willing to do it and trying to convince yourself that you are doing it is two totally different things.
Now, I realize you're a coach, but you've already said you don't deal with like really novice type. I'm just going into throwing.
Yeah, for sure.
But would you advise a coach to most people who want to get serious? Maybe not compete, but they want to turn their body into the peak perfection of what they're capable of.
Yeah.
Would you say get a coach, and how important is it to do your research before getting a coach?
Both are incredibly important, so yes, I would say get a coach.
Definitely.
Like I said, for me, I mean, I did the whole lifestyle coaching thing for a long time. The only reason I've kind of stepped away from it is because the way my business took off with competitors, and I also have a really, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people who are committed to the lifestyle that are serious. I have a really hard time seeing eye to eye with people that give me excuses. So when I was working
with... Is this sounding familiar at all? Like none of this is scripted. This I completely understand, because the moment I hear that, I'm like, wow, it doesn't matter what you're paying me. I don't get paid. I will not trade my time for money. But if I've just wasted my time, you're telling me that there's some unforeseen variable in your life that's stopping you from achieving, I've already lost interest in you.
And that's just it. I can't pretend to be passionate about helping somebody that literally can't help themselves. And I did it for a long time. And I got to the point where I just said, you know what? I have enough athletes who are serious about this and want to be serious about it that I don't need these type of people. I don't need to work with these type of people. So I kind of just closed that side of my business. And luckily, like I said, I brought on 2 coaches who I want to help people. So I understand that those people still might need guidance. So great, you apply with me, I read your application, we hop on a call, and I'm very good at reading people. So by the end of a call, I'll know.
They have to apply to you.
So they can apply to any one of us.
Okay.
But what I do a lot of the time is I still get a lot of lifestyle people apply with me, and I'll pass them off to my coaches. Again, for me, it's just one of those things that bodybuilding is my passion. I have some goals as a coach within the sport. I will coach people at the Olympia level. I plan on doing that within the next few years. And to give my time to somebody that, again, is drinking 3-4 nights a week, they just want to be a little tighter, it's really tough for me to do. I don't have the ability, and mentally it drains me more than it helps. So that's kind of where I made those decisions. But like I said, I want to help these people still, because I realize not everyone is me. Not everyone is a bodybuilder. So that's what Ty, Dylan, these guys are here for. And I know there's aspirations of Ty. He's getting to a point where he's getting more and more competitors too, and he wants to also coach fully competitors. So the next step of Miller Elite is going to be growing the brand to a point we also have just a lifestyle side. And we'll have coaches who specifically work only with lifestyle clients. And then we'll have me heading kind of the competition prep side, and Ty and whatnot running that side of things. So that's kind of realistically it. It's very, very, very important, like you mentioned, that you do your research on a coach. I briefly alluded to a conversation where I had a coach, and I mean, it taught me a lot.
You're being polite about it.
I've had many experiences with the coaches over the years, but some of my experiences taught me what I would not want in a coach, and what I would not want to be as a coach. One of the things we pride ourselves here on Team Miller Elite with our coaching team is the level of detail that we go into. Not a lot of coaches, when you get into the online space, are paying attention to things like training, but when you look at all of the necessary building blocks to build a physique that you're proud of, training is an integral piece of that, not just the food. So a lot of online coaches are just updating diets, doing macros, that kind of stuff. Well, for us, it's like, maybe those guys build your training program too, but a large piece of that is, how are you performing within your training program? So all of my clients, all of Ty's, all of Dylan's clients, you're actually sending us videos every week of your training so we can watch that. Yes, we're watching your execution so we can correct it and make sure you're doing things right. Yes. But I also want to see how hard you're working. Because if I put 8 to 12 reps on your plan and you go to 12 reps and you just stop, well,
I hate
12
that.
is an arbitrary fucking number. It doesn't mean anything. That rep range is there as a failure guide. I want you to fail within 8 to 12 reps. And the way that I program is a low volume, high intensity approach. And quite frankly, if you're not training hard and you're not taking your sets to failure, you're actually just not going to change. And if you're under my watch and you're not going to change, I don't want to work with you.
What the hell are you coaching?
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, there's other pieces to this, right? When you go into like the bodybuilding side of things, we don't need to get too far down that road, but you're talking about enhancements. You're playing with somebody's health, right? And somebody trusts you in that realm. And I've done a ton of courses, research, read studies, all this kind of stuff, and invested a lot of time so that I can help people, especially after my own accident, so I can help people and keep people healthy while wanting to go that route. Because without beating around the bush, I mean, you're not going to be a pro bodybuilder naturally. So if you want to be a pro bodybuilder, you've got to be willing and open to take some level of risk, but at what point does that risk outweigh the reward? Yeah. And as a coach, we need to have those conversations with people. We need to educate who we're working with on what they're taking and not just lead the blind. I don't want people blindly coming to me saying, I'll do whatever it takes, I'll shut up, you can just kill me. It's like, that's not really how this works. I'm not trying to kill anyone. And unfortunately, there's a lot of coaches in the industry who do that and that don't, for lack of a term, know what the fuck they're doing. They don't understand what these drugs are doing. They don't understand how to properly look at blood work and read blood work. These are things that we do differently than a lot of people. So when it comes to...
Let's break into that. So obviously we're going down a road here that maybe a lot of you don't agree with. There's going to be some questions here. This may be where you have to disconnect from this show, because if you're one of those natural athletes who absolutely hate hearing about this, you're probably going to want to turn this off or write in the comments. We can have a second interview.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I coach a ton of natural athletes as well.
Yes.
I coach natural pro bodybuilders because there is a natural stream where you can turn pro. Mm-hmm. It's just basically once you turn pro as a natural, you're not going to really succeed going against enhanced people as a pro bodybuilder.
Yeah, so again, I'm much older, so I've gone through we'll call it the fake knowledge, where back in the 80s and 90s, they had to deny everything that they were using because they would be either fined, kicked out, whatever it was. Yeah. And then you had the Rich Pianas of the world, Jay Cutler, started talking about it big. And then you find out that what we always knew, that you don't 300 pounds at 5'9", because you ate a lot of horse meat and
creatine
creatine and a proper diet. Yeah. So we're gonna have a little discussion on that. Again, that route was never really available to me because it was already hard enough for me to make weight to fight. It was bad enough that at 5'8", 5'9", even cutting to 170 pounds to make welterweight, everyone else was 6'3", 6'4". Yeah. So I'm eating kicks from a range where I can't possibly get them. But that didn't stop me trying to understand what it was doing to my, let's say, competitors or my friends who were in bodybuilding. So I may have approached that wrong, but a lot of people have come up to me asking, because when I did my last cut there, visually, you just look bigger.
100%.
I lost 30 pounds. Yeah. I can finally wear an extra large shirt. Everybody's like, dude, what did you do? You look huge. I'm like, I haven't been 191 because I came down from 226. I haven't been 191 for 15 years. This is not I put on no muscle. If I put on 1 pound, maybe 2 pounds over 6 months, that'd be a lot. Losing the weight is what gave me the visual of being bigger. So everybody was asking me, what do you want? I want to get on it. I went long-winded to get to this point, because you must have these kids coming to you, 16, 18, 20. They're not even using up their maximum potential of just the high test that they have. Let's say I'm this kid and I'm coming up to you. I know I want to do this. Bro on the internet, ooh, I hate bro on the internet's doing this. The Trend Twins are doing this. Seth, whatever the hell his name is doing this. How do you cut through the bullshit? How do you deal with it? And if they're set on that road, what should they know and be prepared of? Because there's the amount of knowledge out there. And I'm going to use the word knowledge. It's information. It's not actually knowledge. None of this, 99% of it cannot be right. So sorry for that long lead in, but I needed to give what I find so bombarding about this topic. What happens? They walk up to you and ask, oh, you're huge. I need to get there.
So one of the things for me that I have had to realize over the years is I'm not a gatekeeper. I don't choose whether people use steroids or not, because I can tell somebody, hey, you're not ready, and I'm not doing that with you, and they'll go use them anyways. I'm not the gatekeeper. I am the gatekeeper if you decide to hire me, because I'm not going to educate you if you're not ready for it. But that's literally the route I take, is through education. And first and foremost, if you tell me you're about it, you're going to have to show me you're about it before you ever get to touch anything. So like you said, maybe an 18-year-old kid comes to me and he says, I want to be a pro bodybuilder. I want to do my first cycle. I'm ready to crank. I'll say, okay, for the next 3, 4, 5 months, you're going to show me that you have what it takes in general to be a pro bodybuilder. Can you follow a diet? Can you execute your training? Can you send me your fucking check-ins in on time? Can you wake up before 9 a.m. every check-in day and send me your check-ins? Because believe it or not, it blows my mind. I have a 9 a.m. cutoff for my check-ins. If your check-in comes in after 9 a.m., I'm not doing it, because I have 30, 40 check-ins to do on a given day. And if your check-in rolls in at 11 in the afternoon, my day's already set up and I'm already through my day. I'm not staying 3, 4 hours late to get to all these late check-ins. You just don't get a check-in that week. The amount of people that send their check-ins at 8:59, 9:01, 9:02,
that's late to me already.
I'm 3 hours into my day already at this point. And I'm not saying everybody needs to wake up at 5 a.m., but if you're serious about your goal and you've been told, in order to accomplish your goal, this is one of the things that I expect of you, which isn't a ton.
And only once a week. You're not
once a week.
Every goddamn
once a
day.
week. Yeah. So like, if you can't do those little things, how the fuck can I trust you to put a needle in your ass that's loaded with shit that could hurt you eventually if you're not smart? Because here's the thing, when I tell you to do this amount, if I don't trust you, you could be doing 3 times that amount. And by doing 3 times that amount, you could be putting yourself in harm's way. So I need to develop trust, with an athlete. I need to actually know that they're serious, right? Because anybody can say, I want to look like that 250-pound guy, but am I willing to eat the 5,000 calories he's eating a day? That ain't fucking easy. I eat 5,100 calories a day, and it's horrible.
I don't know how you do it, man.
It's brutal.
I can't cross 2,500 clean, and that's with 6
meals. And I would personally rather diet than eat to grow, which I'm doing right now on 5,100, and I'm at the point where it's hard, right? But can you do that? Because a lot of these young kids also have crazy metabolism, so they need to eat.
Yeah.
Can you train 5 days a week to failure every single set? Can you take
someone watching you?
Can you take the criticisms that I give you when you send me a deadlift and the video looks like absolute shit and you don't know what you're doing? And I tell you how to fix it, and I tell you to take 2 plates off the bar, start from 135, and slowly work your way back up with these cues. Because if you can't do those things over time, I'm not going to expose you to anything, because you literally just aren't going to be a bodybuilder. You haven't earned, and I do believe you have to earn the right to use steroids. Now, we take another route where I educate people. I tell them, the second you put that needle in you, you might be reliant on that for the rest of your life. Are you okay knowing that as an 18-year-old kid, until you die at 75, 80, however many years old you die at, you may have to be injecting yourself for the rest of your life?
Again, I'm going to slide in here. You think he's making a generalized statement, or like I'm just trying to do the fake responsible thing by making it sound like I'm warning people. No, he's absolutely serious. I've had friends that were on TRT after 19 years old because they went too hard, wrong shit. And I don't care what anybody trying to sell you the shit might say. The moment you tell your body it no longer needs to do what it's programmed to do because you're giving an exogenous source, it may never turn on again. 18, 19. Some other people can do it for years and come back after 6 months. I've seen 19-year-olds who are now on prescription at my age, 25 years later. He is not fucking around here.
Yeah. And like I said, I mean, for some people, that's not a big deal. I'll be completely transparent. There's a lot of people that are walking around right now that should be on TRT. I made the decision when I wanted to go that route that I said, you know what? If I have to do that for the rest of my life, I'm okay with it. Are you okay with that? That's not for me to decide. That's for you to decide. But I'm giving you the facts.
Is your future partner potentially okay with
100%, right? So, and I mean, there's other pieces to this. I would argue if somebody's talking about doing it and they want to come off all the time and then start up again, I would argue you probably should just stay on all the time at low doses, TRT dosages, because it's healthier for the heart and brain, and that's a whole nother topic we could go into till I'm blue in the face from the health side of that. But
if you guys have questions on this, we can do a specific one for that.
Yeah, by all means, let us know if you want us to dive into that, because I mean, and I also have other podcasts that I've been on. I've talked about this kind of stuff.
We'll toss all those links up.
We have our podcast coming, which I'm sure we'll have you on as well, and there'll be episodes on PEDs and stuff, which you guys can check out. So, yeah, I mean, on the biggest thing for me is educating the person, making them understand, like, hey, this isn't a fucking joke. This isn't like you take this and all of a sudden you're huge. You're going to have to work harder than you did naturally. You're going to have to eat more food than you did naturally. You're going to have to do so much shit that you just think this is a magic pill, but it's not. You know what I mean? Like, people don't realize it. I mean...
Yeah, if you can't eat and train to get there naturally, when you take it, you're not going to keep anything the moment you're not on the heavy loads.
Yeah.
People don't get that. You're not going to magically get bigger every time you touch something. You're going to get bigger, you're going to get smaller. It's not the... It will, like you said, it'll enhance what you're doing. But if you're doing nothing or sloppy build, you end up with a lot more sloppiness to your body.
100%. Well, and people think steroids build muscle. Steroids don't build muscle. Steroids enhance recovery. So you're going to recover quicker and build muscle at a greater rate because you're recovering quicker. But it's not like you take a steroid and all of a sudden you're huge. I know a lot of people, to be honest with you, that you would see walking in public that look like they've never taken a steroid in their life and they've been on them for 10 years. And when I see that, I scratch my head and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Risk reward.
Yeah, like, why are you playing with your health like this when you look the same as when you did? Because these people, they can't follow a diet. They can't train hard. They simply are just at a point they're reliant on the psychological effects that they get from the drugs. They feel good on them, so now they chase that. As far as I'm concerned, you're a fucking head. You're an addict. Yeah, you're addicted to the feeling that you are when you're on steroids. What's the difference between a heroin addict or a crack addict or whatever? They're addicted to a feeling when they hit that pipe. It's no different than you, right? So, and the other side of this whole thing is, and I think it's important to talk about, is the mental aspect of bodybuilding, because it's like a running joke in the bodybuilder's world, but like the second you start bodybuilding, every day you're going to think worse of yourself is kind of true.
Isn't that the fucked up thing? You get into it looking for the better lifestyle, but man, the moment you wake up and you're a little puffier or you don't lift as much as last week, you think you've gone backwards 5 years.
100%.
I felt this even at any form of training. He is so right on this one. Holy shit, yeah. Go into it.
Like, for myself, for example, this morning I was 258.2 pounds. The heaviest I've ever been in my life. I look at myself in the mirror before I shower and I feel small. As a 258...
How tall are you?
I'm 5'9" and a bit.
Yes, he's like an inch taller than me, and he's currently over 50 pounds of lean muscle mass, heavier than me, and he thinks he's a small man.
And that's just the mind games that get played, right? Like, I remember when I woke up in the morning of... It was 2017 when I did nationals. I was sitting on my couch and, like, don't get me wrong, like, I was fucking peeled. I had striated glutes and stuff, and I'm sitting on my couch kind of playing with my stomach, thinking I'm too fat to get on stage. Wow. And, like, I'm sub 4% body fat at that time. And I look back in an off season at those pictures when I feel fat in my off season and I'm like, fuck, I'm fat. Or fuck, I'm small. Yeah. And then I look back at those pictures and I'm like, fuck, you were small then, but you were shredded, right? So it's this never-ending mental battle, and at some point we do come to terms with it. I've been doing this a minute now, so like I don't beat myself up to the point I'm depressed over it, but I look at myself and I'm like, fuck, I just don't feel it here. But that's also part of, I think, what drives us to be better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if that's what gets you to go back to the gym that day when you want
exactly.
to be a coach.
I feel like I look small today. Well, I have a training session in 7 hours that I can change that.
Absolutely.
And then
or he invites me and he feels big.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm bigger than this little guy, so fuck it.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, it's a long-winded way of answering your question, but there's a lot of different pieces to it. And to be honest with you, I'll even go as far as to say, if you're pursuing the bodybuilding thing, which a lot of people that are listening to this probably never will, it's a very niche thing, but maybe somebody is interested. Whether you're enhanced or you're natural, bodybuilding inherently is not overly healthy. Even as a natural athlete, when you diet down to extremely low levels of body fat.
You're talking about competition bodybuilding,
yes.
Not getting into the gym.
Yes.
That is nothing but winning.
100%.
Okay, so I'm getting on stage.
Getting on stage in a little, as a male in a little pair of bikini trunks, or as a female in a bikini, whatever. Naturally or enhanced, it's not inherently healthy. When you get to that level of body fat, as a natural athlete even, your thyroid function takes a hit. Your sex hormones take a hit. Your estrogen, your testosterone, all these things. Females, we see things come to light like amenorrhea, where they lose their cycles for 4, 5, 6 months, right? And I'm the guy that I'm educated enough to fix these things, and I always have this conversation with people before they go that route, because I love bodybuilding and I'm not sitting here shitting on it. But I'm honest about it.
But you can't be ignorant about it.
You can't pretend these things don't exist, and you can't just keep dieting people through all these health problems and think that they don't exist, because now you are fucking with someone's future and their longevity, right? Because if a female continues to stay in a amenorrheic state for 5, 6, 7 years, well, the chances of her ever having kids is quite low. So you need to be able to fix these problems, and that's one of the things that I pride myself on as a coach, is I'm honest from the get-go with these people, and I also know how to fix a lot of these problems. And the cool thing about the community that I've been able to over time build from my connections with people in the US, I have buddies, Cam, Dom, a lot of people in the US, my buddies in Canada, my team here. If there's something that I can't figure out or solve, even though I've done all these mentorships and all these things, I know somebody that will be able to solve it or walk me through how to solve it. So realistically,
so you put your ego aside and admit, I'm not the expert here, but I will find you the best information.
100%. And that's one of the, because I have friends that'll come to me to help them solve problems. Yeah. And we're all doing the same thing. We're coaching athletes at the highest levels. We're chasing the same goals. But we don't have this ego where it's like, I can't help you because you'll get ahead of me.
I can't ask because you might know more than me.
100%. I don't give a shit about that. There's a person in front of me that needs help. If I can't actually solve that problem for them, well, here's the reality of it. If I can't solve that problem for them, they're going to go find somebody that can. But if I can't solve that problem for them, and I know somebody that can, let's put our heads together and fix it so that I can also learn, so the next time this similar problem comes up, I know what the fuck to do.
And you're the better coach for encountering another problem and crushing it.
And to be honest, like the term coach, people don't really realize what it is in the world of bodybuilding and physique enhancement and all those kind of things. Essentially, I'm a glorified professional problem solver. That's literally what it is.
You're a physical shrink.
100%, basically. It's like you check in with me, you send me pictures of your physique, you answer some questions. I have to figure out what to do next. Well, I make a play, your body doesn't respond to that, I have to solve that problem and figure out why. And then I have to keep doing that over and over and over again until we've accomplished our goal, whether that's getting big in an off season, whether that's getting shredded to step on stage, whatever it is. Or simply you are a lifestyle person, like I said, I don't really do it anymore, but you wanted to lose 20 pounds. Okay, well that's going to be a journey. What happens in the middle of that journey? You might stop losing weight because of some unforeseen factor. Let's figure it out, let's get over that obstacle and keep things moving.
All right. And just so we don't drag this out too long, I want to hit on a couple more points. He's got to get back to doing business because he does the same, if not more than what you see me doing. I like the way you transition that last one. Let's segue into, again, the last thing he stated was bodybuilding for competition isn't always the healthiest thing, bodybuilding as part of your life, going
Yep.
back to the lifestyle
Oh,
stuff,
big time.
please elaborate on how it can help you in your day-to-day, especially if you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Because entrepreneurs don't know 9 to 5. So
No.
don't think that the success that comes out of an entrepreneur came easy or in 8 hours.
Yeah. So I would argue that, and actually I've literally witnessed this. So I'll give an example of a friend of mine who started off as a client of mine who's now pursuing some really cool things. So he sent me an application going on almost 2 years ago now, and he was like, hey man, I want to get in shape. He was working on the rigs out in Kamloops on the pipeline, making very good money doing what he did, and he basically was just drinking, eating Doritos, the whole 9 yards.
That's the Alberta.
And he was like, let's get in shape. I was like, all right, let's get in shape. So I dieted him, and I kept dieting him, and I kept dieting him, and then I'd refeed him and do all this stuff, and all of a sudden he started to look kind of like a natural bodybuilder. And I proposed to him. I said, hey man, you want to go the route of bodybuilding? I'd love to do a show. So we got him on stage. He was small when he got on stage at 142 pounds as a natural bodybuilder. And we're talking about somebody who's my age. But he looked very good. His structure was crazy. And he placed very well in his show because of it. And at that point, he was addicted. But now, fast forward to now, he's actually, I think, 50 pounds heavier. He is enhanced now. However, he's stepping away from working in the oil field. He's on the path of opening up a couple businesses himself. And he's said it to me time and time again. I've probably heard it 10 times in the last few months about how passionate he is about bodybuilding because of how it changed the direction of his life. The commitment it requires to pursue these things and hold yourself accountable to your goals on a day-to-day basis, the structure that's required within that, you can't just go about your life fucking winging it.
No.
Because you can't go somewhere and be somewhere for something you thought was 1 hour and it ends up being 4, and now you're 3 meals behind or 2 meals behind. That's not really how this works, right? So for me, I'm a very structured person because I have to be. If I want to get my training sessions done every day, if I want to get all my meals in, if I want to get to all my meetings, if I want to get all my check-ins done, if I want to do every single thing that I need to do during a given day, I have to have routine and structure. So bodybuilding is all about routine and structure.
Yes.
It's eat, sleep, train, schedule your shit out. So when I couple that with running businesses, I literally actually cannot imagine, to be honest with you, not having the structure that I do from bodybuilding and trying to run my businesses. The thought of it, fathoming that idea, makes me fucking crazy. I can't imagine it because it's what I know. Right now, I had the benefit of starting on the journey of bodybuilding first and then intertwining everything together. But like I said, with Cole, it was opposite. He basically realized the structure that bodybuilding gave him, and it's given him opportunity, and he's like, fuck this pipeline stuff. I'm going to pursue something else because this is what I love to do.
And your confidence goes through the roof when
Big time.
you see your body change in ways you didn't imagine it.
100%.
You're like, what else can't I conquer? Why am I going to conquer doing? And there's nothing wrong with being an employee.
Yeah.
You do the best. It doesn't matter where you are. Be the best version of yourself. So even if you're the best employee, hopefully that translates.
Some people are
into
meant to be employees, and that's what they're good at.
Better bonuses, more raises, all that kind of thing. Always try and excel. But then why not transition that into, I can own this.
Yeah.
I can do this. I can franchise this. I can build an empire.
Yeah.
I took control of my body. Why the hell can I not take control of my finances and my future too?
100%. And to take it further, like, maybe you're not bodybuilding, but you're just taking care of yourself.
Yes.
Well, a body that's treated well is going to facilitate a mind that's working well.
Better
and
sleep, fresher mind,
all these
cleaner
things.
ideas, gears.
Right?
turning.
It's like that whole fucking I don't sleep thing. We'll see how long that lasts. Because at some point, something's going to crash and burn. And I speak from absolute 100% been there, done that. Because, like I said, I mean, I do run multiple businesses, and I preach to my athletes, I want you to sleep more, I want you to do this more. There's only so many fucking hours in a day for me to do my shit and sleep. But I'm at the point now that I know I function better on more sleep. I know I show up better for my people when I'm better slept. So how can I structure my day to get everything I need done and have my 6.5, 7, 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
And when I do that, now I'm fucking efficient. So again, I mean, I'm not ever going to be the guy that says, don't fucking work hard, and if you need to get shit done, don't sacrifice a couple hours of sleep. Sacrifice the sleep and get your shit done. But on the flip side, if you can find a way to structure your life where you can get your shit done, stay off Instagram for fucking 3 hours,
Oh God.
and get your sleep in, then do it. Because that will absolutely pay dividends over the long term.
And prioritize. If you're going
That's
to
just
drinking even once a week, there's an easy way
Yeah.
to get 4 hours more sleep.
100%.
Kick that shit out.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be less efficient in the morning after drinking anyways.
100%.
Okay, cool. So that, you see how all this ties in for that 1% life. It has nothing to do with how much you make. You can make any amount you want, generate revenue however you want. If your mindset is clear, you're taking care of your body, your body and your mind functions better, everything just makes sense when you wake up.
Yep.
So let's leave that behind. Last point I want to hit on. We're going to do a walkthrough while you're doing this talk
Yep.
over here. What possessed you to jam that space back there so fucking full of equipment? Like, if there's, if you, what is it? You might have to insert that Fast and Furious clip.
If you can't find the right tool in this garage, Mr. Arizona, you don't belong near a car.
If you can't find what you're looking in there, you're in the wrong place.
Yeah. So this
Ridiculous.
is, I'll try to keep this one short because I know we're wrapping this thing up, but
Or if
this
you
al-
even want to tell that story.
yeah, so
holy
this
shit.
also speaks to
Never
just
give up.
kind of getting some shit done. So there's a little bit of a backstory behind me and the boys and opening this gym, but long story short, like I said, we're all involved in the bodybuilding world, bodybuilding coaches, etc. So this is a gym that's basically made for people that are serious about training, made by bodybuilders. Every piece in this gym is hand selected. We're not a Good Life where we get a big discount on buying one brand of equipment.
Yeah.
So we bring everything in. Half the machines are shit. Everything is hand selected here. Now, we have basically found, so I started buying pieces of equipment during COVID. I was putting actual commercial grade stuff in my gym because previous to COVID, I was going to open a gym with 2 other partners. That ended up falling through, and I was like, I'm still fucking doing this. I just don't know when, but I'll figure it out. So I started buying commercial equipment, really high quality stuff to put in my garage. I wanted a place to train. Why not build it right in my fucking house? So I started doing that, and then over time, this whole idea of starting the gym started to come to fruition. And for me, it was like, hey, let's see if the boys are in. They're already working with me. They're coaches under me on Team Miller Elite. We work together on a day-to-day basis. Let's see if these boys are about this. I know Ty, Dill, eventually they told me that they had also always wanted to open a gym. So it was kind of simply just, let's fucking do this thing. So basically we started there. I had some friends who had used this contact in the US. He sold tons of equipment to a lot of pro bodybuilders and stuff that own gyms. And he seemed like a really good dude. So I started chatting with him, and we started getting a couple pieces out of it. It was basically, so he owned a company that would find old school shit or new stuff. Anything that needed to be refurbished, he would refurbish it, repowder coat it. So basically our entire gym was meant to actually be all matching paint, all red, to match the entire space. So I was like, hey, we want this equipment, this piece, that piece. The boys and I sit down for meetings. We want this piece, that piece. So we start sending off these lists of equipment to this guy. He was out of Arkansas. He's like, yeah, we can get that, we can get this amount. So we start paying him for all these pieces. Over time, he's like, hey, why don't I just hold this stuff for you instead of shipping it until we start filling a full semi or whatever to save on shipping costs. He's like, I have a couple warehouses where I can just warehouse it. We're like, all right, you know what? That sounds great. We know there's going to be more coming. We're outfitting an entire space. And at the moment, like, we're not even close to having everything we want in here. If you can find these pieces for us, you're our guy. So we kept this rolling, and it happened for about 6 months. We kept adding more pieces. And then all of a sudden, we're getting to within a few weeks of actually getting into our space, the place we're in now, getting the keys after our lease was settled and everything like that. And it's like, once that happens, it's go time. We need to start getting our equipment moving down here. So I start messaging the guy like, hey, can you start sending us pictures of the pieces of equipment so we can start pushing them on our social media? We wanted to have pre-sale memberships and all this stuff. He goes, yeah, for sure, you bet. And he sends me like 3 pieces of equipment, 3 pictures. And I'm like, well, we have about 50. So where's the others? And all of a sudden it's radio silence. A couple days go by. I'm like, hey man, I really need those pictures. Radio silence. A couple more days go by. Hey dude, like I'm not fucking around here. I need these pictures of this equipment. Can you please prioritize this? You're running a business and I need these pictures of equipment. Radio silence. I'm like, holy fuck, what is going on here? So I go through social media. Me and Ty are sitting at a show one day and I kind of tell him like, hey dude, just so you know, this guy has not replied to me in like weeks. And I also feel shitty about this because we started dumping a lot of money towards this guy and it was my recommendation. I had friends who had used him before and all this stuff. So the boys essentially trusted me with this. And I'm the guy that built the connection and everything. So finally we're going through this social media and we start seeing comments on a bunch of his pictures. That there's a bunch of other people who are like, hey man, I need you to get a hold of me. Where's our shit? Where's our shit? And I'm like, holy fuck, red flag, red flag, red flag. So we go crazy ex-girlfriend on this guy. I find his mom, his sister, his wife. I find every single person on social media that I can that's related to this dude. And like I said, for me, I'm a very disagreeable person. When that fucking flip switches, I'm not a super nice guy. But I've done a lot of work over the years to make sure that doesn't happen. So at this point in time, I was like, you know what? You're going to get more bees with honey than you are vinegar. Let's see what comes of this. Let's not flip our lid just yet.
Let's not be 18.
Exactly. I'm a grown-ass man. So we send messages to all these people, hey, because there was rumors going around that he was in the hospital and this and that. And you know what? As somebody who had been in the hospital for 9.5 weeks, I guarantee you, if somebody was blowing up my phone and I owed somebody something at that time, I wasn't physically capable of doing anything or replying to shit. So I'm like, maybe this guy is in a situation like this. So I send these messages out. We send messages out to his mom, his stepmom, everybody you can imagine that's related to this guy. Finally, within a few days, we get a message back from his wife. And she says, hey, he was in the hospital, this happened. Thank you so much for not threatening us and whatnot.
So clearly other people went that route.
Oh yeah. So we get added to there's a guy named Nick Trigili he used to run a big YouTube channel called Bodybuilding and BS. He's an ex-pro bodybuilder. If you ask me, he's an idiot. But he ran like a news outlet for bodybuilding.
I know, I've watched a lot of this.
Yes. And so Nick Trigili, he got banned actually off of YouTube, and now he just has Bodybuilding and BS on Instagram and stuff. But he basically added us to a group chat because he had seen, and people had said that we were a part of this thing. So we get added to a group chat with like 40 other people in it, who all are owed equipment by this guy. There was a couple people who were owed like over 200K US. Ours was like 150K US that we were owed by this guy. And all this shit's happening. And in this group, guys are just saying the most outrageous shit. Like they're gonna kill him and here's his address. They're taking pictures of his warehouses and shit. And I'm like, first and foremost, if you're about to do some criminal shit, you maybe shouldn't be posting it in a group with 40 other strangers that could literally get you fucked over. Second of all, I want nothing to do with this. I'll figure my shit out on my own. So she messaged us this, tells us all this stuff. And I was like, hey, listen, I get it. You guys have been going through a tough time. I need Tyler to call me. I just simply need to talk to him. Do you have my equipment? So they kind of go back and forth. And finally she's like, I'll get him to call you tomorrow. Well, I don't get a phone call the next day. So I message him again. I'm like, hey dude, I need you to stop avoiding me here. I'm just trying to have a conversation to figure out what's going on. If I can help, I'll help. I get a call from him the next day. And it's just excuse after excuse after excuse. And I was like, listen, Tyler, I'm sorry you've gone through all this stuff. Do you have my equipment? He goes, well, I have most of it. Like, okay, well, most of it is the start, but I've paid you a lot of money. I need my equipment.
Yeah.
And so he goes, well, we're sorting some things out with my lawyers. I'll keep you updated as we see fit. And I kind of basically said to him, I said, Tyler, I need to know what's going on here, because if I don't get told soon what's going on, I do have your address. I do know where all of your stuff is. And I'm quite simply just going to come there. And then we'll figure it out. And he goes, well, no, you can't do that just yet. And I said, Tyler, I need an answer, man. What's going on here? And then I hear his wife in the background. She goes, if you come down, we'll take care of you. We'll sort it out. So I said, do you confirm that, Tyler? He says, yes, absolutely. So I said, okay, sounds good. I'm booking a flight tonight. I hung up the phone with him. This was at like 4:35 p.m. I called my wife. I said, book me, Dylan, and Tyler a flight to Arkansas as soon as possible. I called Dylan. My wife's texting me at the time. Flights are booked for this time. I called Dylan and Ty. Ty was currently living in Calgary. Dylan was back and forth between Regina and Edmonton, half and half, renting a house here, had his home there. Dylan's passport was in Regina. He was in Edmonton at the time. Ty was in Calgary. I called Ty, get to Edmonton. We're going to Arkansas tonight to figure out our equipment. And, it was actually in the morning. We flew at like 4 a.m. or whatever it was. So Ty and Jill, literally, he barely packs a bag, hops in a car with his wife. They drive to Edmonton. Ty's wife is really good friends with my wife. And Dylan calls one of his employees from his store that he owned in Saskatchewan, another supplement world, says, hey, I need you to drive halfway to Edmonton. I'll meet you halfway. I need you to bring me my passport. Sure enough, Damien does it, drives the passport halfway up. They link, he grabs the passport, comes back. Me and the boys hop on a plane to Arkansas in the morning. First thing. And we didn't even know if this guy was going to show up to pick us up in the airport or anything. It was all talk. We're like, maybe he shows up, maybe he doesn't. He was getting death threats. People were showing up at his gym with guns. We're like, we might be rolling around with this guy and somebody rolls up and starts shooting at us. So we didn't know what we were getting into, but you know what? I was just like one of those things where we had to go sort it out. So we get down there and there was a bunch of bullshit involved. Like realistically, we get there late. I can't remember what time it was. It was dark out in Arkansas by the time we get there. We had a bunch of layovers and shit. Get to Arkansas, which is a complete shithole. I hope I never go back to that place.
Yeah.
And
cheap warehousing space though.
Oh, big time. And he basically says to us, I'm going to take you guys to the hotel. And we're like, no, you're going to take us to our fucking equipment.
Yeah.
We're prepared to get semis here now and load our equipment until it's loaded. If we have to stay up for the next 24 hours, even though we haven't slept in 24, I don't really care. Take us there. Well, I don't have the keys. The lawyer has the keys. Like, so what the fuck is going on here?
Like receivership type thing?
Yeah, something sketchy was going on. So we're like, you know what? If you can come get us first thing in the morning, like 6 fucking a.m. and take us to the warehouse, okay. If by tomorrow morning you're not getting us into the warehouse, there's going to be a problem. So sure enough, you betcha, he gets us to the hotel. He offers to give us his car. We're like, you know what? No, we'll fucking get some sleep tonight, which obviously we barely fucking slept because we're like vibrating, but we're there. We're there now. And there was these other dudes that we had communicated with that were level-headed like us, who were owed actually the most by him. We were the second most. They were in for like 200 plus K. They're opening a gym in Maryland. It's actually opening right away here called Unrivaled Gym. But we were in communication with them. So once we had actually landed, we decided to tell them like, hey guys, we're here. We know that the equipment's here. If you guys are, and they hopped on a plane and came down. So there was 5 of us. There was Mark, Blake, me, Ty, and Dylan. They showed up the next day, but he picks us up at 6 a.m., as he said, and takes us to one of his warehouses. Well, when we pull up to the warehouse, one of the garage doors is like bent and shit and half open. And he goes, oh, fuck. It looks like they broke into this place. And I'm sitting there like about to blow a gasket because like the whole way that it went about seemed very staged and acted. And I'm like, if my fucking equipment is not in this place, there's going to be a problem.
Yeah, my first thought was, oh, he cleaned it out last night. That's why he couldn't.
100%.
Yeah.
So he opens up this warehouse door. Equipment everywhere, right by the door. Beautiful piece of equipment. Like, all right, there's some fucking equipment here. We go through the rest of the warehouse. We get to the middle of the warehouse. Big empty space, and he goes, oh, fuck. This is where all your guys' stuff was. I'm like, excuse me? So they decided to leave all the nice pieces sitting right by the door, come to the middle of the warehouse, and take the hardest shit to get out and steal that.
And this, just so you guys know, this is going to be 20,000, 30,000 pounds worth of shit.
Yes.
You're not sneaking that between them.
No, fuck no. It's not fitting even on in a truck bed or anything. Like, you need trailer on trailer on trailer to fit this shit. Furthermore, the 3 pieces of equipment we got pictures of are in the warehouse. So you're telling me they took all of our equipment minus the 3 that you sent me pictures of weeks and weeks ago? No, you just never had my shit. So then he goes, but you know what? I'll make it square with you guys. We'll take care of you. I have another warehouse loaded with equipment. And this motherfucker wasn't playing around. We went to his other warehouse. Imagine a Walmart that is only filled with gym equipment, but it's a hoarder's episode of gym equipment. So much shit you can't walk in this warehouse, plus hundreds of machines outside exposed to the elements, rusted the fuck out, some of them because they've just been in the rain in Arkansas. So basically, we kind of said to him, like, here's our list of shit we bought. You're gonna get us every single piece on here. And he was like, well, I'll do my best. And we were like, no, you're gonna get us every one. Attached to that warehouse, he had a fully functioning gym that is very much similar to our gym. Old school relics of gym equipment, but all his shit was brand new and refurbished by his refurbishing company. Beautiful gym, beautiful equipment. So we're going through all this stuff, and basically at the end of the day, there's a lot of pieces that are missing. And we had POs for these pieces. We went back to the pictures he sent us when he had secured the equipment. Some of the pieces were on his gym floor. So we quite simply just said to him, like, that piece that's on your gym floor, your open fucking gym right now, that's coming with us because we have a paper trail showing we own that piece of equipment. Well, you can't take that, blah, blah, blah. Want to fucking bet? So we literally were in there telling people that they couldn't use a piece of equipment, and we were wheeling equipment out his front door, loading it onto a Zoom boom. Dylan was driving a Zoom boom, taking it into the back of a truck. So long story short, we end up getting all of our equipment. It's not refurbished, it's not painted the way we wanted, but you know what? It is what it is. He had no money left, so our $20,000 we had paid for shipping, gone. We had to arrange new semis, new trucks, and pay for shipping again. We had to pay duties and everything again that we'd already paid for. Everything was handled. We had to get my back end guys who are on the back end of Team Miller Elite. They're down in the US to get all the shipping and customs and stuff sorted out because we're fucking loading equipment. We did 3 days straight, one day about 16 to 18 hours of just moving paths in that warehouse so we could haul equipment out. Another day walking through every single piece, figuring out which pieces were ours. And then the other day was actually lining everything up, pulling it to the front of the warehouse, loading the Zoom boom, leaving the warehouse, getting into a semi truck, Zoom boom lifted onto the semi, we load these semi trucks. We loaded two full semi trucks full. Plus we loaded helped Mark and Blake load theirs. So this whole fiasco ends up being basically 3 days of complete chaos. Basically, so we're bodybuilders. We don't miss fucking meals. Me and Ty and Dylan didn't eat all day, every day for these 3 days. The only thing we did inside his little gym, he told us, help yourselves. He had a little fridge with Gatorades and energy drinks, and they had those little fucking pre-mixed protein drinks.
Yeah.
I drank like 2 of those protein shakes a day, and then at the end of the day, we'd go to like fucking Chick-fil-A and just hammer as many calories as we could because we were just evaporating. But our bodies were just like, my brain didn't work, my body, nothing worked. It was just like, get shit done. Finally, at the end of all this, trucks are loaded up. We send our trucks off. Mark and Blake send their trucks off. It's like 3 a.m. Ty has to go to the airport. We drop him off at the airport. He basically goes to the airport smelling like complete shit, soaked in sweat. The girl beside him is on the fucking plane like this the whole flight. But I mean, we had to work and had to get it done. So then Dylan and I get checked into a hotel. Well, again, one of the worst experiences of my fucking life. But we sleep for like 2 hours. We go to the airport. We're on a flight with these guys, Mark and Blake, and we get off, and Mark looks like he's seen a fucking ghost. And we're like, what the fuck happened? So he had gotten a phone call after we left at 3 a.m. Buddy came out and stopped the last truck from leaving. Our 2 trucks left way earlier, but he stopped the last truck from leaving and said that they were stealing his equipment. The guy who owned the gym that had sold the equipment. So he was trying to pull some sort of fast one. Then we find out that basically at 10:30 in the morning, so we landed around like 11 or something. At 10:30, the like trustees of a loan or something had showed up, and they fucking chained the entire place. So anything that belonged to that fucking property at that time now belonged to the bank.
Yeah.
So if we literally wouldn't have flown down when we did, or we delayed by a day or a few hours, all of our shit would have belonged to the bank, and that entire gym floor of equipment you see, basically at least half of it wouldn't have been here, and there's no way to get it back.
You'd have a CrossFit gym.
Yeah, exactly. So that was, there's a little bit of a story behind us building this gym and it coming to fruition. Because at the end of the day, to be completely honest, I didn't have the capital to rebuy all of that equipment. Even if I did, finding the pieces that we found, the Nautilus Explode line, the Cybex Hack Squat, those things are so hard to find that you'd spend years trying to find them. We got very lucky with some of it. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it worked out for us. But let me tell you, I thought I knew what stress felt like running businesses and stuff until I was in that situation. And that's a whole nother fucking beast, man. It was crazy, but you know what? Opening the doors made it that much more special, I think.
Absolutely, man. And this is why when Buddy Scott, he'll be watching this, he goes from nicest guy in the world to like demonic piece of shit, all with one sentence that someone who doesn't know what the entrepreneur life is all about sees him with his cars and stuff like that now and says, must be nice.
Oh yeah, no.
Don't ever say that to an entrepreneur who's put their time in. That is the most disrespectful thing you can ever say. 99% of the people that are listening to this probably got a headache just hearing you explain what you had. They could never do that.
No.
This is 1% type of information here. This is 1% type of experience, the shit that you got to go through if you want a bigger, better life. This is going to happen. I guarantee it. I've never seen anything not happen.
Yep.
I've done very little business in the country that I live in. So I have to deal with jurisdiction. I mean, you'd have to go to the U.S.
Yeah.
Jurisdictionally, my life's been a nightmare for decades.
Yeah.
But now everybody wants what
language barriers.
Oh God, yeah, different. So you know what? We're gonna wrap that up, man. I really appreciate you. This is awesome.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go hit that workout I need. I'm motivated as hell. I want to tear in this world a new asshole. COVID kind of messed things up, but I see guys like these young guys just putting in the time, putting in the efforts. There's no such people like, what are you going to do if there's failure? I'm like, what do you mean? Failure ain't even an option.
Yeah,
it's just 100%. What am I going to do tomorrow to be better than whatever problem there used to be? So I'm going to go get out there. I'm going to get my ass on the gym floor. I'm going to bust out a workout like I've never done here over at the Den Fitness. So stay tuned for that. Check out my boy Braeden, all his team here. Team Miller Elite. You got Tyler. The other gentleman's name Dylan. I keep wanting to call him Dennis for some reason because of that last fight.
Dylan Dennis. There you go.
They're not the same at all. Trust me. So right on. For producer Mac behind the camera, we got Braeden Miller right here. I'm Chris. We are out for today.
Thanks,
Ciao,
guys.
everybody.